Today we will discuss agricultural production in India throughout the planning period. In economics, the economy can be divided into three sectors: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Primary sector includes agriculture and agriculture allied activities like forestry, fishing, mining, etc. And many other occupations related to agriculture are also included in this sector. According to development theory, as the country develops, the contribution from agricultural or the primary sector should reduce, and the contribution of other two sectors, industrial sector, that is the secondary sector, and tertiary sector, should increase. In many other developed countries of the world, the contribution of the agriculture sector is around 2%, whereas in India, in 2017, the contribution of agricultural sector in GDP was 15.4%. Although since the time of independence, the contribution of agricultural sector has been reduced, but still it is much more in comparison to developed countries. And around 48% of population is still engaged in agricultural sector. And during this particular COVID situation that we have faced recently in 2020 and 2021, we found that many migrant workers, they have returned to their villages and started depending on agricultural sector. An economy can be divided into three sectors: primary sector, including agriculture and agriculture related activities like forestry, fishing, mining, etc., and other allied occupations related to agriculture are also included in primary sector. Second is the secondary sector, which includes the industrial sector, whereas tertiary sector is the third sector, which includes the service sector. According to economic theory, as development proceeds, the contribution from primary sector decreases and the contribution of other two sectors increase. In other developed countries, the contribution from agriculture is around 2 to 3%. But in India, the contribution from agriculture sector is 15.4% in 2017. So it is quite high in comparison to other developed countries. And around 48% population are still dependent on agricultural sector. Not only that, in the case of emergency like COVID situation, where in 2020 and 2021, we found that many migrant workers, they returned to villages and started depending on agricultural activities. So agriculture is always a major sector of the country. But unfortunately, the agricultural production always fluctuated during the plan period. In our country, we have 5-year planning system which initiated from 1951. So throughout the planning period, what is the agricultural production that we are going to discuss now. And in this plan period, in the initial period, like in the first 5-year plan, agricultural sector was emphasized. But in many other planning period, agriculture sector was neglected. And therefore, we find fluctuations in agricultural production. In some plans, in 5-year plans, we find good harvest, good production. But in other 5-year plans, the dismal picture is also found. The main problem of Indian agriculture is that agricultural system depends on natural factor, mainly monsoon. So if there is good monsoon, the harvest will be good. Whereas in the case of bad monsoon, the unsatisfactory performance was found. And it is continuing still now. Government of India has taken many strategies, development policies to develop the agricultural sector, but modernization, improvement of technology, diversification is still lacking for this sector. Where the government emphasizes on employment generation, the government should also take up the factor that how the rural employment should be generated in agricultural sector. Because just now I said that majority of population, 48%, around 50% population are dependent on agricultural sector. So not only cultivation, agricultural sector can create many other jobs which are necessary for India. And in that case, agriculture related activities should be improved and must be supported by the central government. Another vital problem of agriculture is irrigational facilities. First of all, the irrigational facilities are not sufficient in India. Majority of agricultural farmers are dependent on monsoon or the rainfall. The proper investment in agricultural sector is needed, especially for irrigational projects. Huge development investment are necessary for developing the irrigational facilities that will help to reduce the dependence on natural factor. Some other problems of agriculture in India is credit availability of the farmers. In India, farmers are very poor. In some states, we find there are some rich farmers like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh. But in most of the country, we find that farmers are very poor. So they need credit facilities. There are some institutional credit facilities in India, especially we can mention the NABARD, the most important credit giving institution of Reserve Bank of India, but only NABARD or their institutions are not sufficient. In each and every area of where rural agriculture production is done, over there more institutions are necessary who will provide rural credit to the farmers. Because without proper credit facility, the farmers cannot implement new technology in agriculture. And without application of new technology, agricultural production cannot improve in India. Now, in 1961, over there in 1970s rather, new agricultural technology was introduced in Indian agriculture, but it was localized only in 3 states like Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, these particular states. And the focus was on wheat production only, and in some parts rice production. But that was entirely localized. That is, the benefit of this new technology was not enjoyed by the farmers of other parts of the country. And in that particular technology, for the first time, entirely new types of seed, fertilizer, pesticides were used. For the first time, chemical fertilizer pesticides were used in Indian agriculture. So therefore, record production took place in wheat production and in some parts rice production. But again, the benefit of this modern technology, that is benefit of this high yielding variety seed technology, was not applied in in each and every parts of India. And another main problem of agricultural sector is technological lack of technical knowledge of the farmers. Farmers, they used to use the primitive technologies, and they are not aware of the modern technologies, and therefore they cannot use the modern machineries or the ways to increase the production. So modern technology is very much necessary for increasing agricultural production in India. And in that case also, the governmental intervention is very much necessary. In some other plans, we found that private investments were encouraged. But still now, private investments are not sufficient in Indian agriculture because private sector is always a profit seeking. So they will emphasize in that particular sector where profit is more. So agriculture is not a profitable industry in our country still now. So therefore, agriculture sector lacks private investment. So these private investment can, of course, be encouraged by the government, especially in irrigation project or creation of warehousing facility, etc. Another major problem of agricultural sector is marketing. We know that there are transportation problem faced by the farmers in taking their products to the markets, or especially in the big markets, in urban areas, in towns, in cities. So therefore, there come the role of middlemen. And these middlemen, they give the farmers a very low price for their product, and they sell the products at a very high price in cities and towns. And therefore, there always a discrimination between the price received by the actual tillers and the price paid by the customers in big markets. So this marketization of agricultural product must be encouraged. Marketable surplus should be encouraged. Otherwise, this problem or productivity of agricultural sector cannot improve. Another vital problem of agricultural sector is disguised unemployment, and this is because of the overpopulation of India. And here we find, because of disguised unemployment, many people are employed in agricultural sector, and if we can remove some of them to other occupation, we find that their marginal productivity will be zero. So actually they are contributing nothing, but it looks that they are employed. So this is disguised unemployment, which is also very common in Indian agriculture. Another vital problem is low productivity in Indian agriculture. Now, low productivity may be due to different reasons, and the reasons are not always economic reasons. There are other social and other reasons are also there. And for economic reasons, first of all, the main problem is the small size of the holding. I already said that farmers in Indian agriculture is poor. They are poor, so therefore they own a very small holding. Only a small percentage of farmers are rich, having big areas of land, large acres of land. So because of small holding, the farmers cannot apply the modern technology, modern machineries. So therefore, because of low productivity, the yield is also low. And apart from that economic factor, there are some socio-cultural factors like the belief, the patterns, the other conservative attitude that also creates problem in improving the productivity of land. So all these are the problems related to agricultural sector, and the production of agricultural sector, of course, depends on the development of all these factors. Now we will analyze the production of agricultural sector throughout the planning period, that is from the first plan period to 12th plan period. The first plan period initiated in 1951. Now the topic is agricultural production in the planning period and the determinants of agricultural production and development. Now, India being a developing country, agriculture is always the major sector. According to the theories of development, as the country develops, the contribution from agricultural sector diminishes, whereas contribution of the secondary sector and tertiary sector increase. In India, in 2007, almost 48% of GDP comes from agricultural sector, and 15% of the total workforce is engaged in agricultural sector. So agriculture is always the major sector of the country. Today we will discuss that throughout the planning period, what is the development of this sector and what is the contribution of this sector. The 5-year plan in India initiated in 1951, and the first plan was from 51 to 1956. At that time, just after the independence, the government of India was burdened with many problems, and one of the main problems was the problem of partition, which created the problem of food shortage and shortage of raw materials. In that particular plan, agriculture was given emphasis, and the major contribution in gross domestic product came from agricultural sector. Maximum priority was given to agricultural sector, and 31% of the total plan outlay came for agricultural sector. The target was total production 62 million tons, but fortunately the production increased to 66 million tons. Emphasis was also given to development of irrigation project or development of irrigational facilities to reduce the dependence of agriculture on monsoon or natural factors. A new land policy was also initiated in the first 5-year plan. The second 5-year plan was from 56 to 61. In that particular plan, emphasis was given on industrialization. And what was the reason behind that? First of all, in the plan period, the performance of agriculture was satisfactory, and the government of India could actually access at that time foreign aid, and food import was also possible in that particular time period. So emphasis was given on industrialization of the country, because it was believed that to develop an economy, industrialization or industries should be the major sector. And therefore, the plan outlay was reduced from 31% to 20%. But in that particular period, the performance of agriculture was not satisfactory. Third 5-year plan was from 1961 to 1966. In this particular plan period, the emphasis was given on self-sufficiency, and for that, food grain production should be increased. Not only that, import of food grain should be reduced, and that these were the objectives of the government of India. The performance was not very bad in that particular plan period, but emergency period arose in that third 5-year plan because of two wars. One war with China 1962 and with Pakistan in 1965. And because of that, agricultural production was increased, but not to a very satisfactory extent. But 1966 and 67 was remarkable for agricultural production, because the new agricultural strategy was introduced in that particular period, which consisted of many new technologies of production. For example, high-yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, irrigation facilities. And therefore, remarkable increase in agricultural production took place, especially in production of rice and wheat in Punjab, Haryana and Western UP. Fourth 5-year plan was between 1969 to 1974. In this particular plan, the objective was growth with social justice. And therefore, with increase in agricultural production, the overall agrarian scenario was taken into consideration, and improvement of technology was emphasized. Not only that, entirely new thing, that is creation of buffer stock, was introduced in that particular plan period. And therefore, during 1970-71, record or all-time increase in production was 108 million. And therefore, the agricultural performance was quite satisfactory in fourth 5-year plan. Now, fifth plan initiated in 1974 till 1979. In this particular plan period, again, major emphasis was given on HYV seeds, irrigational facilities and technological development. But in spite of that, performance of agriculture or production of agriculture was not very much satisfactory. Sixth five-year plan was between 1980 to 1985. During this particular period, long-term needs of agricultural commodity was taken into consideration in terms of domestic consumption and also for export. Because India wanted to export agricultural products in that particular time period, especially tea and jute and other things, raw cotton, were decided to be exported from India to other countries. Not only that, technological advancement was also given emphasis in agricultural sector with development of irrigational facilities. Seventh plan was initiated in 1985 till 1990. During this period, export on agricultural products was given emphasis, and development of irrigational facilities with new technologies of production were given major importance. Not only that, some other programs were initiated like Special Rice Producing Zone, and National Oil Seeds Development Corporation was also created. National Watershed Development Program for rain-fed agriculture was taken into consideration. During this period also, the agricultural production was moderate. Eighth plan period was between 1992 to 1997. This particular plan period was important for many reasons. First of all, not only agricultural growth, but diversification of agricultural products was emphasized. Different types of agricultural goods were given emphasis in production, and the objective was to attain self-sufficiency in food grains and generate surplus agricultural products for export purposes. Investment in agriculture, irrigation, etc. was given emphasis, and for the first time, public-private sector tried to invest in agricultural sector. So privatization in agricultural sector was initiated in this particular plan period. Emphasis was given in rice, pulse and oil seed production, and the result was large increase in growth rate of agricultural production, that is 4.7%. The ninth plan was between 1997 to 2002. During this period, the objective of the government was agriculture-led growth. That means the primary sector, that is agriculture and allied activities, were given importance. Not only that, in that particular period, the target was 4.5%. But oil seed production was not satisfactory, and therefore agricultural production was also not very much satisfactory on an average. But food crisis did not arise because of the buffer stock facility of the central government. So in this particular period, that is in the ninth five-year plan, it was found that the reform process which was initiated in India in 1991 could not provide good result in agricultural sector. During the 10th plan period, that is between 2002 to 7, agriculture did not receive high priority, and therefore investment was also not satisfactory for agricultural sector. Not only that, there were some other associated problems in that particular plan period. For example, structural weakness, low public investment or government investment for agricultural sector, expansion or exhaustion of high-yielding variety seeds was also found. Not only that, fertilizer use in agricultural sector was not in a balanced manner. So many problems arose in that particular period, leading to unsatisfactory production of agricultural sector. 11th plan period started in 2007 till 2012. This is an important year for agriculture because the emphasis was on corporate investment in agricultural sector so that private investors can invest in agricultural sector. And some new things emerged in agricultural sector like contract farming, improving water management system, diversification of crops like production of fruits, vegetables, flowers, herbs, spices increased during that particular plan period. Not only that, during this period, the system of easy credit facility to farmers was also introduced. Land reform policy, which was a very old policy, this was also reviewed and tried to be applied in a new way. Not only that, some state-specific agricultural production was initiated. And better seed production was also operated during this particular plan period. Not only that, for agricultural marketing, modern marketing facilities are planned at that particular time period. For that, National Commission for Farmers was created. And that will take into account the health of soil, health care, water harvesting, credit facilities, everything. So actually this called for a second green revolution, that is entirely new focus on agricultural sector was given by the central government. During 12th five-year plan, that is from 2012 to 2017, the target of agricultural production was 4%, but actually the growth rate was much low, 1.6% only, and the average growth rate was also very low. There are many reasons for that. First of all, inadequate rainfall, and we know that Indian agriculture always depend on the monsoon or the natural factor. This was one of the most important reasons. Apart from that, lack of agricultural credit for the farmers, that is also another reason. And scientific warehousing facilities was also needed in the case of crop failure, and agricultural technology must be improved. But overall, the performance of agricultural sector in that particular year or this plan period was not very much satisfactory.